This program is paid for by N3 Oceanic Incorporated. All opinions or statements expressed on the program are solely those of N3 Oceanic or their guests and do not reflect the opinions of WPHT or Odyssey.
Anthony Gambone and Denise Gambone. We've been with Crash Proof Retirement since 2016.
With the holiday season upon us, there's nothing I'm more thankful for than being here with Crash Proof Retirement. You're guaranteed to not lose any principal, and you're cheering the stock market to go up because it means you make more money.
That's the beauty of the Crash Proof system. I've made money, and I haven't paid for anything. You secure your nest egg, then it's compounded the next year. There is real growth.
Since Tony and I came to Crash Proof Retirement, we have made a substantial amount of money. And I mean, what's not to like about coming to Crash Proof Retirement? I would encourage everybody to have that same sense of security and peace for 2026.
Tune in to a special holiday weekend edition of the Crash Proof Retirement Show with Joanne Small-Canella and Tracy Stillman today at 11 a.m. on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
WPHT, WPHT-HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Piazza Premium Automobile Studios.
Powering your drive with 10 brands and 20 locations.
Always live on the free Odyssey app. Live and local with Tom Azelby. On Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Good morning, Philadelphia. Tom Azelby here this Saturday morning on 1210 WPHT in Philadelphia. Kirk Corliss producing. I always think we got a good show, and we always got a lot of stuff to cover for you. One thing I like to say, you can find me on X at the Old Gravy Podcast, or you can go to YouTube, you can Spotify, you can find the Old Gravy Podcast. Got a lot of different guests on there. Actually had Rich Zioli on a couple of times too to talk about different things. After this show, I'm here from 8 to 9, but through the holidays, I'm headed back to Philadelphia, and I'll be on Kale & Company. I think I'm hosting 3 times there over the next couple of weeks, and I got a Dawn Stensland show. I got one of those shows, and then plus I got my own Saturday show, so there'll be a lot of Tom Azelby over the next couple of weeks at 1210 WPHT. Matter of fact, I am leaving here at right after the show, literally just jumping in my truck, and I'm heading north. I got to bring a car home because I got my college kids home, and I don't have enough cars at home. So I'll be headed back to Jersey. I like to drive straight through, but I'm getting too late of a start. My record is 16 and a half hours, and I'm about a little under an hour north of Fort Lauderdale in South Florida to give you. So if you're trying to, see if you've ever beat me, driving, but 16 and a half hours is my record. And when I don't have my wife, my kids, and the dog in the car, let me tell you, you move a heck of a lot faster. No doubt about it. Anyway, we got the Christmas season. I'm now a big fake tree guy. I got a fake tree here, and I got a fake tree up in Jersey. And let me tell you, fake trees are great. The lights are all in them. I always would think like I'm bringing this nice tree in, and then it dies in my living room. So I'm really into the fake trees. I know a lot of people disagree with that, but I am. Hey, Kirk, I got a great gift for you. Do you have a dog?
No, I do not. I have a cat.
Would you like what? Would you like a dog? I'm going to buy you a dog for Christmas. How about that?
I don't know how my cat's going to feel about that.
Okay, so saying you don't want the dog. The dog I was going to buy you, they got this dog called Ibo, and it's made by Sony. It's been around a long time, but like any software, this fake dog, they keep upgrading the dog software. It can do everything. It recognizes family members. It can do tricks, give you your paw. It can play dead. It's been around since
that I would love.
Well, Absolutely. You said you didn't want a dog. You said you didn't want a dog. And let me tell you, this thing's not cheap. once you put all the software and everything in and do
Yeah.
all the upgrades, I
Uh-huh.
mean, you're starting at $3,000.
Holy
And
crap!
then
Then
yeah,
never
and the
mind.
dog can go up to 5,000. It even recognizes family members. But I was going to get you one, but you said you didn't want one. I asked. I said, "You want a dog?" And you're like, "No, my cat won't like it." So we had to move on.
Okay.
Anyway, maybe next year. Maybe next year. Be prepared for that question.
Okay.
I want to give you a little Elon Musk update. I do find this guy fascinating, and I read his biography. And definitely the guy is, he went to UPenn. Actually, that's his connection to Philadelphia. But everyone knows, he's a different type of person. Some people think he's somewhere on the spectrum. And to me, I would obviously everyone's a little bit somewhere on the spectrum, but he's really out there, and that brain is gigantic. Anyway, I'm not that much into space. I know a lot of people are. But Elon in 2029 is going to be sending humans to Mars. And I know when you hear it in the news, you're kind of, okay, whatever. But when he gets humans up to Mars, these type of astronauts, they're really like architects and designers. They're going up there because by the mid 2030s, he plans, and that's within 10 years. He plans on having thousands of people living there, and they're going to look like these giant glass domes, and they're about 3 football fields long. There's 3 stories high, and they'll have like hydroponic farms, but there'll be like these dome factories. There'll be like some dome production things in there. It's really crazy. The thing about Mars, though, it's 95% carbon dioxide. So if you're not in a rover and you go outside, which you will be able to do, but you need to be in one of those spacesuits to give you oxygen. And it is really cold. It's an ice planet. It's like under 80 below zero all the time. It does have an equator. I thought that was interesting. And on that equator, it sometimes gets to 70 to 80 degrees, but by night, it can be like minus 100. Anyway, this guy is, I really find him fascinating. And I was always wondering, like, okay, when you get up there with like fuel, for example, if you're bringing all these people up and these ships up, you got to carry so much fuel. But what there's so much CO2 on that planet, and there's so much ice that they can make methane and oxygen and use it for fuel. This guy thinks real, like he's ahead of everybody in this stuff. And then the Mars dirt, get a load of this. It's iron oxide, and if you heat it super hot, it turns into raw iron. So all these domes that he's going to build, it's not like you're going to ship a bunch of iron up there. You can't travel with all those materials to build a colony. But what he's going to do, he's figured out a way to use whatever is on Mars and produce it to build things, obviously to build shelters, number one. And then I said to myself, why would this landscape is a hellhole. I mean, it's cold and it's like a wasteland. But I think Elon, which is such a terrible thought, that maybe in 100 years or 200 years, or I don't know when he thinks, I didn't ask him, obviously, but that if Earth was to implode or we had to get off Earth, that he would have colonized a whole different planet and people could actually escape there. I know it sounds crazy and no one wants to think about it, but listen, some meteorite came down and killed all the dinosaurs. So maybe if they had a bunch of spaceships, the dinosaurs would have gotten out of here. But anyway, that's my Elon update. Here's another story that I found interesting, and you probably saw it in the news this week. But Bill Barr, not Bill Maher, Bill Barr, who was the former AG, the Attorney General for Donald Trump, and they didn't have a great relationship. I was never a fan of Bill Barr. I thought he was kind of an old, crusty Manhattan, spoiled private school kid, but that's just my opinion on him. And I base that on some of the things he said. I'm like, this guy doesn't get it, where Trump does get the working class and the middle class. This Bill Barr didn't get him at all. And I think that's why they had and Bill Barr worked in politics forever. He was a big shot for a lot of other presidents over the years, and he's heavily involved in government, and he became the attorney general. Let me tell you, he's a very smart lawyer. There's no doubt about that. But anyway, he's on a podcast, and Barr is informed. This is the part I found interesting. He's informed that Epstein has been found dead, and he's been found dead hanging in 2019. Believe me, that is not news Bill Barr wanted, and neither did Donald Trump. And I'll further explain. So Barr's own chief of staff called him up and said, "Hey, listen, there's been a real big F up." Okay, that's the phone call that this Bill Barr gets as the attorney general. And he says to Barr, it appears that Epstein has whacked himself. He's killed himself. And Barr is just like, oh, my God, what the hell is going on? This is an embarrassment to the Department of Justice, because I'm sure the Bureau of Prisons and federal prisons roll up under them. And so he says, okay, what's going on now? And he goes, his chief of staff says, well, the Bureau of Prisons is in there. They're looking at the body. They're looking at the crime scene. And the Bureau of Prisons is the guys that run the prison. So, like, they're the last people you want investigating. So Barr's smart enough to get the FBI in there and the inspector general. And he then he's going to call Trump immediately. And he calls up Trump and he says, you're not going to believe this, but Epstein just killed himself. Barr said Trump was like outraged. He was pissed. He was pissed because it's on his watch. He's the president. And so that's one thing where, if Trump was so tied into Epstein, he wouldn't be happy. He'd be happy he offed himself and probably would have high-fived Barr, or he would have smirked or smiled. But listen, his reaction was like, oh my God, how? And he said, how in the hell did this happen? And, but this is interesting. Trump had been in the federal government for 3 years. And I can tie this to Dan Bongino too, who's just resigning after a year. I don't know if I'm going to get to it today, but I got some insight on that. Just my own opinion. My insight is just the way I see it. It's not like I got any, deep knowledge of how Dan Bongino's thinking and why he left. But Trump had been in government for 3 years. And he knew how incompetent the government was, the federal government. I don't think people do not they won't believe how incompetent the government is. Same with the Secret Service out when that kid Crooks got on the roof and shot Trump and killed another gentleman and wounded other people. Yeah, my first reaction is the government is that incapable. And the Secret Service aren't Marvel comic book characters. But so I want to get back to Jeffrey Epstein killing himself. So Trump is not happy about it, but he realizes that, yeah, this place is so incompetent. And Barr even said in the interview that he did, as a young lawyer, someone explained this to him. Don't ascribe malice where stupidity is a sufficient explanation. And you got to understand that instead of a lot of things that drop into conspiracy theories and very nefarious things of all these people doing evil things. I'm not saying people aren't doing bad things in government. Obviously they are. But sometimes there's sometimes nothing there because they are that incompetent. And people have to come to terms that their federal government is a complete failure on getting things done and wasting money. And we're seeing it every day. But it's a great line. Don't ascribe malice where stupidity is a sufficient explanation. And this MCC, the Metro Correctional Center, which I think is on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, this place is a disaster. And it's been a disaster for years. Now everything is underfunded in government. They said it's underfunded, but you have to understand the culture in that prison, in that correctional center. Believe me, the federal workers there, they hate their jobs. The guards hate their jobs. Matter of fact, the investigation said the guards were sleeping, and they were sleeping. They had a testifier. They would have went to jail. They could have perjured themselves. They were sleeping. Epstein was taken off suicide watch way too early, which was not normal, but it's just easier to take him off suicide watch because you don't have to use as many resources. And then the cameras don't work. Can you believe these cameras don't work? Cameras don't work a lot of times at your house, whatever. That goes on a lot, that these cameras don't work and people forget about the technology. But they're forgetting to be monitoring and managing the cameras in a federal prison. And that's exactly why Epstein died. He hung himself. And it's easy to hang yourself with a sheet. You can hang yourself with a belt. You can hang yourself with a sheet. It's not that difficult. Believe me. I know a little bit about that. Not that I've ever attempted it, but I do have some information on how it's done, and I have a very good understanding of it. But the bottom line is, the federal government was a disaster. And I think we fueled a lot of the flames with this Epstein things because the Democrats said nothing under Biden. Now they came out. And I was always worried with some of the MAGA people about Epstein 24/7, that it wasn't a good idea. Nothing's going to come of it. Trump's not going to be affected by it. And I don't believe Epstein was, well, I don't want to go into all that. You've heard me talk about it before. But that was one conspiracy I didn't like, and I think it's come back to backfire. Anyway, we're going to go to break. This is Tom Azelby on 1210 WPHT. We'll be right back.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
Got any gadgets? Get online protection. NordVPN has a ho-ho holiday deal just for you. Secure up to 10 devices with a single account. NordVPN's Threat Protection Pro feature helps you avoid malware, phishing, and annoying trackers. Just a few taps and you're safer online. Let your gadgets sparkle with online security. Go to NordVPN.com and get up to 77% off plus 3 extra months. NordVPN.
Tune in tonight starting at 7 p.m. for the Bob Pantano Saturday Night Dance Party. Live from Adelphia in Deptford, the Bob Pantano Saturday Night Dance Party is broadcast exclusively on 98.1 HD2 and Bob Pantano Dance Party Radio on the Odyssey app. Driven by Echelon Ford.
At Citizens, we help make sense of your money and all your money questions.
Should I pay down my debt or start an emergency fund?
Is now the right time to start saving?
How can I move my financial goalposts even an inch?
Can money actually buy happiness?
What's it take to live like a royal in Queen Village?
Whatever money questions you have, Citizens has the answers. Make sense of your money at citizensbank.com/made-ready. Member FDIC.
At PGW, safety is essential to delivering clean, reliable natural gas to Philadelphia homes and businesses. If you smell gas, call PGW at 215-235-1212.
See website for details. Bills Happen is not a lender and does not make credit decisions. Hey, Bills Happen! So when you need extra cash fast, go to billshappen.com. Have you been turned down? Are your credit cards maxed out? Do you have bad credit? Go to billshappen.com. You could find a lender and get up to $5,000 cash as early as tomorrow. Billshappen.com is safe, secure, and all online. Just remember, when you need cash, go to billshappen.com. Billshappen.com for the cash you need now. Billshappen.com.
Got any gadgets? Get online protection. NordVPN has a ho-ho holiday deal just for you. Secure up to 10 devices with a single account. NordVPN's Threat Protection Pro feature helps you avoid malware, phishing, and annoying trackers. Just a few taps and you're safer online. Let your gadgets sparkle with online security. Go to NordVPN.com and get up to 77% off plus 3 extra months. NordVPN.
Be sure to follow Talk Radio 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it now.
Welcome back to 1210 WPHT. This is Tom Azelby. The phone numbers here is 855-839-1210. And if you want to call about what I just said about Epstein and him hanging himself, if you would like to talk about that, you're more than welcome to call in. My next subject, and everyone's been hearing a ton about that this week, is Trump and Rob Reiner. They're both about the same age too, but I'm going to kind of do a psychological dive on Trump and Rob Reiner. And obviously, these two men had contempt for each other. But a little bit about Rob Reiner. He grew up in New Rochelle, New York, which is right outside New York City. You would not believe how many famous people, authors, actors, sports figures, everyone. It was like, I don't know if it was the first train stop outside New York and you could live in the beautiful suburbs, but that's where he was till he was 13, and then he went to L.A. His dad, Carl Reiner, did the Dick Van Dyke Show. And I know a lot of people who listen are not a fan of Rob Reiner, but I like to know people's backgrounds. And he was born in the Bronx. He was actually born in the Bronx, I think near Penny Marshall from Laverne and Shirley, who's her father, Gary Marshall, did Happy Days, Mork and Mindy. So these are two kids that were from very prominent Hollywood people. And Penny Marshall would actually marry Rob Reiner. Rob was 24. Penny Marshall was 30. And she died. They were married for 10 years. He adopted her daughter. So that would be his fourth kid. And he has his other three kids. Obviously, we're going to get into all that about the kids and the murder and what have you. And then Penny Marshall's brother, no, not her brother. So Penny Marshall was married to Rob Reiner, who was me to head on All in the Family, but they were married for 10 years. Great movies Rob Reiner made: Stand By Me, Few Good Men, Princess Bride. Listen, the guy had talent. There's no doubt about it that, he made some really good movies that I definitely liked. Now we get into what happened with Trump and Rob Reiner. So, how could these two have such contempt for each other in life and death? I mean, it's really interesting, and I'm going to try to bring that to life for you. Rob Reiner was definitely what I would call a limousine liberal for most of his life, and his politics on All in the Family really reflected who he was. I mean, they casted someone perfectly to play Meathead, because back in the 70s, he went up against Archie, the conservative. He was the son-in-law, and he was what he was in that show in many ways. I mean, obviously, it's a comedy sketch, and they make him look, I don't know. Sometimes I think he looks smarter than Archie when I watch that show, but this is one thing that someone brought up, that he didn't like George W. Bush either, but he didn't like him over Iraq. He didn't like it over the Patriot Act. He called him a lot of names. He called him a war criminal. He said he was dumb, but he did say, he had been in interviews where he said he didn't like Bush's policies, but he didn't really hate him as a man. Now with Trump, he had a whole new level of loathing for Donald Trump. And that's, and I'm going to dig in a little bit more about that. What I found interesting is Donald Trump never mentioned Rob Reiner in any social media posts. He never mentioned him in an interview. He never referred to him. The first time he really ever commented on Rob Reiner was when he wrote on Truth Social, and he wrote some stuff that people were very upset about. In my opinion on that, it's easier for Trump if he said nothing, or he gave a religious thing. Well, it's an awful way to die. It's an awful thing that happened to him. May he rest in peace. God bless his soul, whatever. He could have done that, but that's not Trump. And I'm not looking for Trump to do that presidential thing. Like Obama loved doing that, but that's just the way to pull the wool over your eyes. George Bush did it too. A lot of presidents do. They act all dignified, but this country's a mess right now. So when I read it, I didn't really care. And I didn't really care. My first reaction is like, he probably didn't need to say it, but we're gonna go over what he said in just a minute. I did this. I had AI read to me what Trump said in his Truth Social post, and it's weird when I listened to it. It didn't hit me the way I did when I read it. Like, he should have avoided that. And listen, I'm a big fan of AI, and now I like talking to AI, and the girl's like my girlfriend, my wife says. But I want to play her, the AI girl from Grok specifically. I want to play the clip. I want her. She's going to read what Trump said on social media post-death of Rob Reiner. So, Kirk, let's play that clip.
10 harsh things Rob Reiner said or posted about Donald Trump. 1. Called him mentally ill.
Let's stop that 1 second. Let's stop that. Let's play. You know what I want to do, Kirk? I want to play the Trump, what she says that Trump, she verbally expresses what Trump said on social media. I want to play that post first, and then I'm going to talk about that. Then we'll go into what Rob Reiner has said about Trump. So let's do Trump's first.
A very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling, but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away, together with his wife Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. May Rob and Michelle rest in peace.
Okay, what I find listening to it, hey, listen, there's some things in there. Trump derangement system. Obviously, Rob Reiner had that. There's no doubt about it. And I'm going to tell you why he was so deeply into the rabbit hole of hating Trump. And there's plenty of evidence about that. But remember what I said earlier. Trump never commented on Rob Reiner before that social media post. I could not find anything where Trump commented on him in an interview, in a social media post. Haven't seen anything. Now I'm going to have my AI girlfriend tell you just some top things that Rob Reiner said about Trump on social media. Let's play that, Kirk.
Said or posted about Donald Trump. 1. Called him mentally ill and unfit to be president. 2. Said Trump is a fascist. 3. Labeled him a racist. 4. Declared him the most dangerous threat to democracy in history. 5. Accused him of being a criminal who belongs in prison. 6. Said Trump wants to be a dictator. 7. Claimed Trump is leading America toward autocracy. 8. Called him the biggest con man ever elected. 9. Said Trump tried to steal the 2020 election. 10. Accused him of wanting to terminate the Constitution. 5 false or misleading claims about Trump that Reiner promoted on social media. 1. The very fine people hoax, that Trump called neo-Nazis fine people in Charlottesville. 2. That Trump told people to inject bleach for COVID. 3. That Russia collusion definitively stole the 2016 election for Trump. 4. That Trump would refuse to leave office if he lost in 2020. 5. That Trump planned to use the military to stay in power after January 6th.
Okay. So now they aren't one-time things that Rob Reiner said. Rob Reiner did thousands of posts against Donald Trump. I actually kind of tried to find the exact number. I couldn't, but they did say that it was in the low thousands. So he was totally consumed. So Trump saying had Trump derangement syndrome, that was an honest assessment. Maybe not the best timing to do that assessment. But once again, what I find interesting is Trump never said anything about this guy until his death. And if all Rob Reiner did was like he was addicted to Donald Trump, posting all that, if that's all he did, then I might be, you know what, he still, he should have used some discipline and not said anything. But I don't have those expectations of Trump, of him being presidential, smoothing things over. No, I'm all for him wrecking the place. But I want to go deeper into Rob Reiner. So why would Trump wait so long at the guy's death to kind of hit him over the head with that, Trump derangement system? But remember, when we played that before, he did say it was, a couple of nice things that he died or whatever, and he was talented, and then it's awful he died. But anyway, Reiner had 2.3 million followers on X. That's a lot of followers, and he continually everything was pretty much Trump 24/7 back from whenever. But that being said, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper. Rob Reiner did a lot more than just post Twitter, and that's what we're going to talk about when we come back from break. We'll be right back.
At Audion Hearing, our mission is simple: to make better hearing affordable for everyone. This Christmas holiday, enjoy exclusive savings on our high-quality rechargeable hearing aids. Clear, comfortable, and ready to use right out of the box. And here's a study worth hearing. Research shows that wearing hearing aids can reduce your risk of dementia by up to 61%. Join over 1 million happy customers and shop Christmas holiday deals before they're gone at audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband Ryan died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Politics, the stock market, the Fed. How do you protect your 401k? Tune in to the Retirement Spectrum with Alan Cohen. Saturdays at 6 a.m. and 3 p.m. on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Just hearing the word IRS can make people break out in a cold sweat. No one wants to deal with the IRS, and now you don't have to. The good news is Legal Tax Defense has been successfully negotiating with the IRS for more than 15 years. It doesn't matter how much you owe, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million. You deserve the best in the business on your side, and that is Legal Tax Defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens, wage garnishments, even file back tax returns. And the best news about Legal Tax Defense is they won't take your case unless they know they will reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a free no-risk consultation. 800-323-8922. 800-323-8922. You have nothing to lose but everything to gain. 800-323-8922.
You can now tune in to Talk Radio 1210 WPHT on the iHeartRadio app.
Welcome back to Philadelphia 1210 WPHT. This is Tom Azelby here every Saturday morning from 8 till 9. We're talking about Rob Reiner and Trump's social media post about the director's death. He was murdered by his son, and so was his wife. They were killed in their beds, and they were killed by a knife, which is, that's a very personal and horrible way to go. Hopefully they were asleep before they knew what hit them. But we were talking about Rob Reiner and the Donald Trump relationship. And Rob Reiner, thousands of posts about Trump over 10 years. Thousands and thousands of posts, literally. Donald Trump never mentions him until after he dies in a violent death. And Trump gets a couple of licks in, insulting him, but at the same time giving, like, what a horrible thing. It's no way to die. If Rob Reiner's only thing was Twitter posts, I don't think Trump would have said anything. But this is where it goes a little bit deeper. When I started looking up how active Rob Reiner was in going after Trump beyond the Twitter, I came across a video, and he's sitting there in early 2018. And he's with Obama's head of DNI, Clapper, and then Brennan, the CIA director. They're sitting in a room, they're doing an interview, and Rob Reiner is the host of this video. And this is in early 2018, and it's about Russian interference in the 2016 election. So I'm like, wow, he's interviewing Obama's guys. Now, we all know about Clapper and Brennan, and they're no fans of Trump, and they probably actually helped. Not probably, they did. They were involved in creating the Russian hoax, which was a big problem for the United States. We tied up a president, his family, the people who had to get dragged in on this. It was awful what they did. I mean, it is criminal, and hopefully there'll be someone will be punished for it. But it's hard to get these elites to really get punished. But the process sometimes is punishment itself. But anyway, two of the leaders of this Russian collusion thing, Obama's guy, Clapper and Brenner, are sitting down with Rob Reiner to do a video. I'm like, that's weird. So I dig a little deeper. So as soon as Trump came in, these two leave their positions. They lose their jobs. That happens when the administration comes in. But after I watched the video for a little bit, I found out that Rob Reiner created in 2017, close to the 2016 election, at the end of September of 2017, he forms a committee to investigate Russia. It's the committee. That's the title of this committee. So Rob Reiner's gone a lot further than just writing tweets about Trump. He's organized the committee to investigate Russia. He puts the money up. What he forms is it's a step further. This committee is not just a bunch of guys talking over it at the Moose Lodge. This is a 501c4. I've never even heard of it. It's supposed to be it's a nonprofit filing. Like a 501c is what you do when you have a nonprofit. You have run a big organization. You're doing fighting cancer. You have an art gallery or whatever. This 501c4 was like to raise money for like community events. So the government doesn't look that close at your financials. They don't look that close at who's involved. They don't make you document everything you do. Where a 501c, a nonprofit filing, they do look at you more. But this thing where you would do it for a fire department fundraiser or some community outreach fundraiser. But what happened is it became part of dark money in politics. So Rob Reiner forms this committee to investigate. It's a nonprofit 501c4. And what used to be good, so small groups of people could raise money for charity. All the politicos come in and they hijack it. That's exactly what they do. They hijack it. So I found out his board of directors for this 501c4, Rob Reiner, he funds it. He's the head guy. He's funding it. His board of directors, James Clapper, who we just talked about. Max Boot. Max Boot is a historian on military affairs. He was a Bush guy. I think he was a big Iraq war guy. Hates Trump. As soon as Trump came down that elevator, this Max Boot, who had a lot of influence in that with his historical background, his military affairs, that basically Trump's a Russian spy. He's an anti-Trump Republican, like a lot of Bush's people who went to work for MSNBC. They're Republicans, but they went to work for MSNBC. Just think about all those Bush people that did it. And I can name names, but I want to move through this. Evelyn Farkas, another Obama Russian policy expert. So she was big on fighting the war in Ukraine. Michael Hayden, a former Air Force general, definitely anti-Trumper. Another appearances on MSNBC. He was an NSA guy. A lot of Bush people here. Then there's Mike Morrell, who was Obama CIA guy. Leon Panetta, CIA guy, chief of staff. Probably all the same people that signed the letter that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian misinformation. So all these guys are on Rob Reiner's board of directors for the committee to investigate Russia. I really didn't know Rob Reiner was that deep into that. So Rob Reiner, here he is, this old liberal, totally working with the intelligence agencies, the former intel guys, the military guys, people that Rob Reiner's, that old leftists and liberals used to hate or stay away or badmouth. Now Rob Reiner is building a 501c4 with these guys. I find that very interesting. I find it interesting. And because I find it interesting, I don't wish ill on him or what just happened to him. That is awful. And I'm going to get into more of that in a minute too, about his son and how he died and that whole thing, because I think it relates back to his being consumed with Donald Trump. And I'm not a psychologist, but like I always say, I'm going to play one in a little bit. And once again, it's just my life experience and what I think. So here he is working in the world with these CIA guys to bring down Trump, these anti-Trump bigwig intelligence guys. And with this type of filing, they don't have to report much. They don't have to say anything. So it all remains in the shadows with this guy. Now, what would happen is this nonprofit would close down on March 31st, 2019. So it was opened in 2018 or late in 2017, and all it was to do was to tie Trump to Russia, the Russian collusion hoax. That's all those guys got together to do. Rob Reiner funded it. He was the leader of it. But by March 31st, 2019, after the Mueller investigation went nowhere, they had that he was up there like lost in the deer in the headlights. At that point, when that Russian hoax investigation collapsed, that's when Reiner closed the nonprofit. So my big point here is Rob Reiner was doing a lot more against Trump and his family and MAGA as a whole. He was actively involved with people, intelligence agents, and former Bush people, and their goal was to destroy Trump and destroy everyone associated with him. And Trump was right when he would say, they get to me, they're going to get all of you. So Rob Reiner was more than just a guy on Twitter, and people need to know that. That doesn't mean anything about what Trump said on the social post. Like I said, I don't really care, but this guy was really consumed. Never mind forming this organization, but the amount of tweets is unbelievable. So let's get to his son. His son, Nick, is 32 years old. He starts giving the family problems when he's 15. He's getting arrested, he's shoplifting, and he's addicted to drugs. Now, I'm not sure if the drugs caused his depression or the depression caused his drug addiction. I have no idea. But this young man he was torturing his family and I say that because what I know, and I haven't experienced it personally, but when a family member is seriously addicted to drugs, it's trauma. It brings pain and trauma to the family like you wouldn't believe. It is so difficult. And families that have gone through it, I mean, it's horrible. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. And it seemed like the Reiners had that type of kid because it went on from the time he was 15 to 32. I think he was in 17 different rehabilitation centers. But what you probably didn't see, people heard that, oh, he had some drug problems, he went to rehab and all that. But underneath that all, there's a ton of dysfunction in the family when you have somebody that is so drug addicted. And I'll say the same thing about Joe Biden. Both his son and his daughter had very serious drug addictions. That family had a lot of dysfunction, the Biden family. Hunter got his brother's widowed wife, who he started a relationship, which was so twisted, and got her hooked to crack. So my point is that once you have a family member addicted to drugs, like to the degree that this guy, Nick Reiner, was, and believe me, he had a huge problem. If you could murder your parents with a knife, man, this is really bad. And then they talk about that the party, he was acting weird, asking if people that were famous at Conan's house like the night before and got into an argument with his father. I'm telling you, this probably happened many other times where the family was embarrassed. The family had confrontations in public. This is how bad these drugs are. And it's a lot of dysfunction. I'm not blaming Rob Reiner and his wife at all. Their kid got addicted. That's on him. And my understanding, they probably did whatever they could to get him help. But who knows if you're making the right decisions? Do you do complete tough love? Life is about percentages. I'm sure they had regret and grief, even when they at that night coming home from the party, like, oh my God, from Conan's party, like, oh, what do we have here? This has been going on for too long. How do we escape this? Believe me, that's how, if you're a parent, sometimes you love the kid, but at the same time, he's out of his mind. So there's also that you have that anger towards him. So there was a giant psychological thing going on in this family. There's no doubt about it. And when we come back from break, I'm just gonna make a guess. I'm just gonna make my opinion why Reiner was so involved with this Trump stuff, like where there was a great director, a child with problems. Why was he so involved with this Trump thing? I'm gonna give you my opinion when we get back from this break.
Just hearing the word IRS can make people break out in a cold sweat. No one wants to deal with the IRS, and now you don't have to. The good news is Legal Tax Defense has been successfully negotiating with the IRS for more than 15 years. It doesn't matter how much you owe, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million. You deserve the best in the business on your side, and that is Legal Tax Defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens, wage garnishments, even file back tax returns. And the best news about Legal Tax Defense is they won't take your case unless they know they will reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a free no-risk consultation. 800-323-8922. 800-323-8922. You have nothing to lose but everything to gain. 800-323-8922.
Listen up, football fans. Never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Pennsylvania. TNC Supply. An app only.
Tomorrow's Crash Proof Retirement Show will air at a special time, 10 a.m. Tune in to hear Joanne Small-Canella and Tracy Stillman. Tomorrow's Crash Proof Retirement Show starts at 10 a.m.
It's here. B101 has transformed into Philly's official Christmas station. Relax and unwind with your holiday favorites 24 hours a day, all the way through Christmas. Tell your smart speaker to play B101.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-9834. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-9834. That's 800-575-9834. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Free speech lives here on Odyssey's #1 talk station. Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
This is Tom Azelby on 1210 WPHT here in Philadelphia. I've been talking about Rob Reiner and his tragic death with his wife, and about him and Trump, and how deep Rob Reiner got into trying to bring down Trump, not just with tweets, but organizing and funding some of the other leading intelligence agency guys in the country who are all trying to do the Russian collusion. So what, and then getting murdered by his drug addicted son. And here's what I think. I actually think Rob Reiner had a lot of disappointment and problems in his life with this son. And he was full of grief and he was full of pain. And people go down into these rabbit holes and they pick one target. This is just an opinion, but he seemed obsessed. And he spent a lot of time on it. And I actually think he took all this pain and grief and he took all that hate and he directed it at Trump. And people do that. People do that in life. They get so hateful of something. That's how racism gets involved. Like a lot of people will find one thing that they're so unhappy in their life or something bad happened. They just redirect all that pain and anger. And I actually believe Rob Reiner did. I don't know if anyone agrees with me on this, but I do. I think because it was a Trump derangement syndrome. That's how much attention he would pay to Donald Trump. And you know what the irony is? Trump hates drugs. He hates alcohol. He hates addiction. He lost his brother, Fred. He lost his brother, Fred, who was 7 years older than him. Fred died of alcohol abuse because he had a heart attack. And it's interesting that Rob Reiner was so affected by someone with addiction in the family, and so was Trump. Trump talks about it all the time, about how losing his brother, and he demanded his kids that don't. I think they might drink socially, but I don't really know. But don't to go near drugs. He is an anti-drug guy. He's such an anti-drug guy. He's blowing up these narco boats across the. He shut down the border. He shut it down, and believe me, fentanyl coming into the country has dropped dramatically. Trump hated hearing about these fentanyl deaths, which were ended up being in hundreds of thousands. And my point is that Rob Reiner and Trump kind of had something to bond on there. Like they could have found that was one place where they could agree on was addiction, because they both had a personal, family tragedy with it. And then poor Rob, he ended up dead. And I do say poor Rob and his wife. It's awful what happened to them. May they rest in peace. Awful. But so Trump and they actually had something in common. Ending drugs getting into this country. Now, Reiner wouldn't have liked the way he was doing it, but at least they could have bonded on that. Not that they were going to be calling each other and hanging out with each other about it. But anyway, that's my point. I think Rob Reiner took a lot of the problems he had in life and took it out on Trump because it was excessive. It was very excessive. But, I'll get back to this Vanity Fair interview that Wiles did, who is Trump's chief of staff. And they say no one knows him better than she does. And she actually said he said Trump has a alcoholic personality. And you know what Trump said? It's true. He does. And you can have an alcoholic personality. That doesn't mean there's something terribly wrong with you. It doesn't mean that you will become an alcoholic, but it does mean you should probably avoid alcohol if you can. And Trump admits it, says, yeah, I do. I definitely have, those characteristics of an alcoholic personality. And what are they? High impulsivity, disinhibition, high extroversion, high neuroticism, anxiety, which motivates people, low agreeableness at times. And Trump said, yeah, I have all those personalities. I look at him. I have some of those. Yeah, I could be impulsive on things. Disinhibition. Yeah, I'm on radio. If you weren't willing to put yourself out there, you wouldn't go on radio. He is a people person. I get that. Trump's definitely that. So anyway, I thought it was very interesting that when the left came after him after that Vanity Fair interview, he just admitted, yeah, that's my personality. And I have to read the Vanity Fair interview. I'm going to want to comment it on more. One of the other things she mentioned, but they took things out of context. Like, what was it with Vice President Vance? She says he's a bit of a conspiracy theorist, and then probably said 2 or 3 other things that might have been funny. But there's nothing wrong with being a conspiracy theorist. And even J.D. Vance said, I didn't mind the interview at all. Conspiracy theorists are people that just don't take the first line for truth, okay? They don't take the first line. They do a little digging. They have a little bit of low trust quotient is good. You won't get robbed if you're in a bad neighborhood. You won't marry the wrong girl. You won't get caught up in, you won't believe everything everyone tells you, so you go down the wrong path. You won't make a bad business deal. So having a little bit of low trust quotient is good. but I was bad-mouthing the conspiracy people with the Epstein thing because they don't look for evidence. They just want to go down into the rabbit hole and pull out the story that they want. But anyway, I thought JD Vance, he was kind of, he'd probably admit, I hear something first. I dig a little bit. I think who are the other players? What else could have happened? There's really nothing wrong with that. So, let me see where we are. We're at 8:55. I only have 2 minutes. God, this show goes so fast. Scott Besson, there is an audio of him in a restaurant. And you got to watch it. Go look it up. He's having dinner. This is the Secretary of Treasury. The guy's like trying to have a nice dinner out. I'm assuming it's in Washington, D.C. And I do have the clip, but I'm not going to play it because we don't have a lot of time. But Scott Besant is sitting there, and two people come in just screaming across the restaurant at him. They call them protesters. I don't know. Are you a protester when you walk into a restaurant with someone and start screaming at the Secretary of Treasury while he's trying to have, you can see he's like trying to have a nice glass of red wine. And after she's done with her rant, Besant lifts his glass and says, like toasting her, "You are ignorant and you have no idea how ignorant you are." I thought that was great. I really thought that was great. And, two sides here, always the opposite. Scott Besant is a gay man with 2 children. And if anyone did that to Pete Buttigieg, there'd be all hell to pay. Now, Pete Buttigieg is not smart enough to come back with a great line like Scott Besant, our Secretary of Treasury, who's doing a great job. But anyway, see the video. I loved it. I'll see you on Friday, Kale & Company. You'll have me for 4 hours, and then I'm back on Saturday morning. Great having you this morning. See you on Friday. See you next Saturday.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS, ethos.com/life.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
If you're one of the millions of Americans behind on your taxes,